Lord, grant me the serenity to understand the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things that I can. And grant me the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today. Amen. Away from me.
You close to the edge, just don't move. My brother said his lawyer just gave him some bad news. Police found the drugs that were stashed in the bathroom. Not only that, but his court date approaching us fast too. So tell me what to do. Lord, you only seek the truth. If you want to bear fruit, then he needs to abide in you. If you seek transformation, it happens in solitude. Since I never had a shot, God threw me the alley-oop. I believe I can fly. Let me mingle with the angels. Heaven's in my peripheral. I see it from an angle.
What's up, good people? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's your boy, Bro Troy.
Bro Kurt. Bro Smith.
And we are the Bro Code. Fellas, what's good, man? How you feeling?
You always start over here. I've been waiting for this. What's up, Jay? I'm a little salty. It was a rough day in the stock market today.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed even through it. You know, it's a moment.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be some growth to come from it. So I'm trying to look at the silver linings in it all.
Indeed, if we can, right? That's it, man. This too shall pass.
I told him it's on sale.
Yeah.
Double down. Buy the drip, baby. Buy the drip, baby.
It's a sensitive thing. Especially for Bro Smiths. Like, those that don't know. Right? Very sensitive thing, man. What you got, Bro Kurt?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's good. Great Monday.
Another day to be in the life of the style.
I'm excited.
So, hey, we're at another table having another conversation. And, you know, before we get this conversation started, we always have a little banter amongst ourselves. And since we're tap dancing on this thing called finance, let's double down. So I'm wondering, you know, how or when did finances become a priority in your life? Like, where was that shift? And what stage of your life when you really started to become a little bit more aware, keen, and accountable for how savings or money went in and out of your life?
For me, it sparked very young because my father dealt with real estate in different ways. We had a plot of land that we would always go out and mow and clean. He had properties that he rented out, you know, duplexes and things in the neighborhood. So I always had some of that in my head that piece is important. But it truly hit me when I started working for a financial company and I got tired of renting. And I said, hey, I don't want to continue to not own my own land, my own space. And from 2007 on, I've always had at least one, if not two properties ever since.
Yeah. That's good stuff. So we always oftentimes say, whether it's through inspiration or pain, it oftentimes makes us or unctions us to put us in a different direction, right? And for you, it might have been arguably a little bit of both. You know, obviously Pops was an influence because you saw it directly, and you got tired of something.
Yeah.
Paying rent. You know, so you decided to make a choice or a decision to live life in a different manner. I can dig that. Yeah.
So I think for me, a little bit different. I grew up in a single family household. Had my son at 19. Always made a lot of money, but I was hustling backwards in a way because by the time I was 25, I was married with 4 kids. My wife stayed home. So even though I was making a lot of money, I knew the principles. I knew to save. I knew to earn, save, and invest, but I couldn't because I had so many kids. So it wasn't until probably my mid-30s where I started to really understand it and start practicing those good habits.
Yeah, I can understand. Lived experience. Grandma used to say, just keep on living,
Keep on living, baby.
Just keep on living. Life will figure, you know. It's funny you say that, though, because one of the things I was talking to my son about today is growing from life lessons. And, you know, one of the things I touched on with him is like, son, we've had this conversation before. Just months ago, man. It seems as if we're going through this same routine. What are we doing to do differently? So as it pertains to finances is concerned, same as yourself, man. I as soon as I got out of high school, went straight to traveling the world, made a whole lot of money, but didn't have a plan. You know, I was a ship without a sail. So even with the sales business and meeting my wife, you know, touching money on a daily basis, I still didn't have a plan. So everything that I touched went through.
And for your son, things, and for all the children around that age, and even adults, how you make money is drastically different than how we thought of money 20, 30 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
You know, there was no way to make money on the internet, you know, when I was a child or even as a young adult. But these folks, they can play video games and make money.
Not only make money, but you can have money sent to your phone. I don't have to go to your house and hey man, you owe me $20, man. Send my money.
Yeah.
But I had to come to your house, or you had to come to my house.
Walk that check to the bank.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was talking to a kid the other day, and I was like, "How are you leveraging your money?" He was like, "Well, I cashed my check and put it in Cash App." I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Hold on." And those are normalcies now, right? Because it's an option. Yeah. But I was like, well, how are you leveraging? So I mentioned a brokerage account, no clue, right? And the difference matter of a regular savings account or a platform that could be leveraged as such, and really using money as a tool.
Now keep in mind, at Cash App, you can invest in
I have them on there.
That's what he told me.
So it's not just sitting
piece by piece. Yeah.
But the only problem with that is that now they send you notifications. So I'm like, in the morning, I got like 4 notifications. I'm like, yo, people sending me money.
Yeah.
And it's these stocks dinging me. I'm like, yo, man.
That's true, though. I remember the first time I heard those dollars started ping, and then the dollars started. It's appealing. Well, fellas, we always talk about greatness happening in a collective effort. Tonight is no different. Tonight we have a boss lady sitting at the table, right? And this young lady is doing a lot of great things, and the greatness that's happening is really under the same lane that we're talking about in finances, and now creating a lane of her own, in doing that. So Faith Patterson. Now, Faith, we usually bring people on the show, but since we're in your spot, we just figure, hey, you just sit at the table with us. You're honorary bro. We glad to be in the crib. How you feeling today?
Listen. I'm so glad that y'all are here.
Yeah. Well, Faith, we are in this location, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's here, what's going on here, how this was birthed. But for those that are listening, for those that are watching, who is Faith Patterson at the core? Let's start there. Who's Faith Patterson at the core?
Man, I am a person that is currently exercising both her left and right brains at the same time, right?
Oh, that's unique.
For sure. I'm thankful for that. Being in a space of, as you all were talking about, finances, and I love to actually hear other people's perspectives of finances, because I think I have a different appreciation for it now that I do not deal with it on a daily basis. My staff do, so I'm not working directly with people like I once did, but affinity is still there to hear the stories, right? Because we all know that it's our experiences and our belief systems and our moral compasses a lot of times is what directs us on in how we handle our finances. So at the core, I think I'm a cool girl, actually. I'm not a stereotypical CPA. I never felt that I even had to be. But one thing about being a CPA in this world was it was very important for me to carve out what it was that I wanted to do, how I wanted to show this space, and I've stuck to that. So been as authentic as I could be, as I have been, hopefully. But yet also exercising the creativity through efforts of decorating
and we're going to talk more about that. We're going to touch on that stuff. Definitely. I'm curious. So I've heard that there's strength in the name, right? So Troy means soldier, right? Given to me by my great grandfather. I took on his name. So your name is Faith. Now I don't want to assume that where that came from, right? I don't want to be obvious, but I'm curious. What does that mean to you? How did you get your name?
So I am a preacher's kid.
There we go. Here it comes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Here it comes.
Oh boy, and I am that through and through. I was something else, but with that being said, my parents. They were standing on faith. They were newly saved at the time. And, my father, he just stood on, like, faith was the epitome of how he moved, which essentially became how I moved and didn't even realize it. But so yeah, they were heavily in the church, and I didn't like my name, right? Because I wanted to be like Keisha, Tamika, or you know what I'm saying?
Hold on now. Yeah, about 3 of them, right?
I wanted to be that, okay? But it's funny because I thought they were picking on me. Like, they were like, faith in God, and you gotta have faith in everybody. You know? So I did not like that when I was growing up. So, but life happens, and you have to start to believe and develop strength and belief in the things that you just can't see it. Yeah. I know it's there. I know, and that's what a lot of my purpose walk has been around the notion of faith. So, yeah, I am living by my name.
I love it. I love it. And before we get this conversation started, like, obviously finances have become a means by which you serve the public, you know, outside of just a profession, but arguably a passion.
Yes.
But if you weren't doing this, like if you weren't crunching numbers and helping people and getting people to see money and finances from a different perspective, what would you be doing?
Either I would have been a doctor, or I would have gone into the fashion industry as a seamstress.
I can see that. I can see the latter, definitely.
Really?
Yeah, I can. You know, the fabulousness shows up. You know, so yeah, I definitely can see that. That's awesome. Was there, what was the purpose behind that? Was this like a high school thing? Like, I wanted to be Dr. Dre.
Yeah,
clearly that didn't happen, right?
So my grandmother sewed. My aunt sewed. I remember my parents, they had lived in New York for a number of years. So my dad and my uncles, they would always come back from New York with like tailor-made suits and stuff like that. And so I remember when I was younger, we had a lady that would make our clothes for church. And so we would have to go find the patterns, have the fabric, measure it out, get fitted, get poked with pins, all of that. And so yeah, that was, and at the time I didn't like it, but I actually grew to understand, oh, this is a little original. And so I took up home economics and sewing in high school. I made a pillow. I made my first dress, y'all. When I made that dress, I was 15 years old. I wore it every Friday, and so I would learn how to do little things such as that. And so, although I went into a different direction, but that was always a part of me. But now it's resurfacing.
Yeah, I can dig that. Well, let's chew the meat, spit out the bone. What you got, Rose?
It's funny. I tried sewing as a child, but it came out looking like the Gordon Gartrell. Didn't work out so well for me. But I'm curious if you could elaborate a little bit more on really your upbringing and your influences, and where did you get the passion for serving others through finance?
So my dad was a sole proprietor, and he owned a carpet business or floor covering business, Bynum Carpet Service. And so I remember just seeing him go out. He'll have my brothers, and his helpers, and they'll go out in these houses that had no insulation or anything like that, and they would just work. And so I saw that you really could make some good money when it came to business. However, if you didn't have a good accountant to be able to manage that, then you will definitely get into some tax trouble. And so my dad had gotten sick in 1995 when I was 15, and he had 5 strokes. And so what happened was he didn't scale the business well. And so that, along with just being ill-advised on paying your quarterlies and stuff like that. And so to make a long story short, he had owed like $100,000 in taxes over the years. And I've gotten permission from my parents to tell the story. But so my mom, she had worked part-time, so she stayed at home with us for many years until I was in high school. So she had a part-time job. And when the IRS could not get him because at the time, he wasn't working. He was on disability. They came and got her. Now, this was a woman who was making all of maybe $13,000 a year. And then they were going in to get her check to garnish her because they couldn't get with him. For 1 year that they were married, filing jointly, someone told them, hey, to get better tax rates, you should be married filing jointly. And they were able to get her off of that 1 year that they had filed together. So I remember seeing just the anguish and the hurt, that had caused the family. And one of the things that I learned early was that if you understand the depths of finances, but having that general knowledge, that general know-how, would be beneficial, especially within our community. And so I remember when I had gotten my accounting degree, I was doing budgets, and I just grew a passion for it, a deep passion. And so after I had gotten my CPA license, I was, I was doing $75 budgets for people. Y'all, it was it was something. I mean, and I was speaking everywhere. It would be audiences of 2 sometimes, but that passion for people to truly understand finances was extremely important to me. So, that's kind of where that budded, and then it just grew from there.
We're going to talk more about that. We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
We're here with Super CPA, right? In this conglomerate. That's the next thing we're going to get in is where we're sitting at. We'll be right back on the Bro Code.
Thank you.
We always say that hope plus options equals success. When there's a lack of hope, oftentimes gravitate towards unfavorable decisions. When we can provide hope plus options, our children will ultimately be better. Through love, consistency, opportunity, and exposure, that's how we really touch these kids. That's how we empower them, that's how we inspire them, and that's how we encourage them. And that's what we do well here at Y4C.
Grooving with the smoothest DJ. DJ D-Dub, Groove Nation. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
Yeah. Looking at me, tell me.
Back on the Bro Code Show with Super CPA Faith Patterson. What you got, Will Smith?
Now, I looked on your social media platforms, and I saw one post where you're describing a space, an office, to where you were laid off at that time of 7, it's probably closer to 10 years ago. And now, having started a firm, enjoying the fruits of your labor in that same space, that has to be a pretty memorable, life-changing experience. I'm hoping you could share a little bit more about what that means to you.
Yes.
And just the joys, challenges of starting that firm and having the gumption to go out there and do it in the first place.
I think I'll take the second one first. Okay. So I was working when I graduated North Carolina Central University.
Another eagle?
Another eagle. In 2004, I started working for an amazing nonprofit called The Initiative, for short. And so that nonprofit was just pivotal for so many reasons. So I started off as a staff accountant, and after about 3.5 years, I was promoted to senior accountant, and then 3 months after that, I was promoted to financial controller. And so that space gave me so many opportunities. It was small, so I wanted to go into public accounting. So your larger firms, your Ernst & Young's, your KPMG's, and the like. And but that wasn't the road for me at the time, right? And so I was in this nonprofit, and it allowed for me to really see beyond accounting, right? So my amazing, I still call her my supervisor till this day. She's like, Faith, come on now, you know, just stop it. But Angela Poole, Angela, I remember she was my supervisor starting in 2008. And she was just amazing because she was able to really foster the other pieces that came naturally for me outside of accounting. So she's more of an introvert. And so she would send me to talk to the bankers, you know, or she would start having me to deliver the financial reports to the board. And then as time moved on, I passed the CPA exam in 2012. And that was when, by that time I was about 8 years in. And that was when I wanted to, the CEO, he started giving me an opportunity to shadow him at the General Assembly, because we were in the states-based budget for many years. So I would go down, and I was actually a lobbyist, registered lobbyist for about 2 years. And so, you know, I would network, and I sat on the steering committee of the Legislative Black Caucus Foundation. And so that exposure allowed for me to understand what creating relationships, how important that was. Now, I did not understand what that would lead to or how that would impact as I would move forward in my professional development, but that's what the initiative allowed for me to do. So in 2012, passed the CPA exam. And so the one thing about social media now, I was like, oh Lord, thank you, Jesus. I'm crying. I passed the last part of the CPA exam, and everybody's like, hey, thank you, do my taxes. You know, can I, you know? And so I started getting clients on the side, and I started building my business on the side. And I did that for about 2 years. So from 2012 to 2014. And so I love my job. My job was amazing. My job allowed me a lot of opportunity, but on the flip side, there was also this thing that was tugging at me that really wanted to be with my clients, and it was growing stronger and stronger. And I'll never forget one of my clients, DeMarcus Williams, he's still a client of ours until this day. He said, Faith, now this was February of 2014, so the second month of 2014, and he said, Faith, you're pregnant with vision. It's not your time to deliver yet. So, second month of 2014, because I was telling him, I was like, gosh, I just want to spend more and more time with my clients, but I was a single mom at the time, and so I did not know how I would be able to sustain my mortgage, sustain my car payment. You mean to tell me that I'm making a great salary with benefits? And how would I be able to remotely transition into that? And so the 9th month of 2014, I was laid off. My delivery date into entrepreneurship full time. So I was laid off in the office that is now my waiting room. And what an experience, because I was sad. Like I was, you know, that was 10.5 years of all that comes with the relationship, right? Although it was professional, it was still a relationship. Amazing people came through the initiative, and then they're doing great things now. And so I I remember I grieved for about 3 months. I was like, God, you know, what am I really going to do? And my 5 tax clients and 1 bookkeeping client, they were like, Faith, thank God that you laid off because we need more of you now. And I'm like, why are y'all congratulating me? And I'm sitting here sad. And what I did not know what journey that was going to lie ahead of me. And so I had started when I was building the business on the side, and my spare bedroom of my home on the floor. Then I gave myself a promotion downstairs, and I was doing financials and taxes on a card table, space table. Then I moved to the nice dining room table. I was like, I can't be bringing clients to the space table. And then in January 20th of 2015, I stepped out on faith, and I had gotten a room, an office room, and a suite. It was 1 room. It was me and a desk and a chair. And I said, well, Lord, I remember my dad told me, he said, Faith, you didn't get your CPA license just to sit on it. Right. And I said, all right, well, I'll try. And now we're here.
And where is here for our audience? What's the address?
5800 Farrington Place, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27609. Very proud of this space. I remember when I was with the initiative when we first moved in here, and it's painted now. It still looks different. But yeah, this is the office space.
I love it. I love it. What type of services go on here? So if a client came here, what could they expect?
So we do accounting, which involves financial statement preparation for a lot of small to mid-sized businesses. Basically, an outsourced accounting department. A lot of people, they are wanting to give it away. They don't want to have to pay the fringe benefits of having a set person. So that's what our firm can do. We also prepare corporate and individual tax returns. We also do business consulting and advisory services, just general. And we're actually now starting our tax planning arm. That's the other spoke that we're really getting into. We're wanting for businesses to look forward, not just back and, oh, this is what we did last year type of thing, but to really be forward looking with your cash flow statements and your tax planning, because that's really where the meat and potatoes of success is.
Boss. What you got, Bro Kirk?
I love it. So first of all, the space is amazing.
Thank you.
All right. So did you design it?
That's that creative.
I decorated it. I did. I decorated it. That's the creative space. So I have always creating an ambiance is extremely important to me, right? And I believe that it impacts you. And I wanted a space where people would feel comfortable, right? Because finances a lot of times is bred with emotion and anxiety, depression for actually some people. And so I wanted a space that could kind of be a little bit lighter, and where people could just bear it all, you know. And it's no diss or anything to large cherry wood desks and but that wasn't who I was authentically. So yeah, I did.
So let's talk about, you can't build this without your team. Let's talk about your team a little bit, who they are, and what you kind of look for when you're hiring for your firm.
Amazing. My team, oh my gosh, they are amazing. So I have our administrative staff. There's 2. Linnell Hinton, she is the business manager, and that's my right hand. She is amazing. She keeps things going. She keeps things... She runs the office. She runs the office, and I trust her to do that. And Geraldine Chacon, she is our business administrator, and so that's our administration team. We're actually hiring for an additional business administrator. And then we have our staff of accountants. So we have two, one CPA, Ian Davies, and then Ebony.
I saw it.
Ebony McCoy, she just passed the CPA exam about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Wonderful. Oh, we had a party, we celebrated.
Okay.
And then I have two, and so she's a senior accountant, and so there are two other staff accountants that report to her. And then I have two staff accountants in the accounting department that reports to Ian. And then I'm kind of away hidden, and I'm just running the business operations.
We're not gonna downgrade the talking about she's away hidden. We'll get into that. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
And I'm sorry, I did not answer your questions about what I look for. I think in addition to, I will say this, heart means a lot to me. I think that you have to have your accounting degree and stuff like that, and administration, you need to have some experience. But I think I don't really necessarily have interviews with people. It's conversations. Because a lot of times when you're hiring, you're not hiring the person, you're hiring their lives. So, if they are married with children, that's going to play a factor in what their limitations may or may not be. A single person, they may have different availability and the like. So I get to know the people and for who they are. So in addition to the skill, because there are certain things that you actually can teach if the person has the right attitude and if they're open to learning. And we're very, we run a tight ship. And so we're very keen on the culture, how we cultivate, what the vision is. And if they seem to be able to adopt it, and you can tell by the energy, you can tell, there's a lot that you can tell in conversations. And when I feel what I feel, when it's certain questions that I've learned to ask. And if it's a good fit, then we'll move forward.
Yeah, I've heard that you ask good questions, you get good answers.
That is correct.
That's why you're on the Bro Coach Show. We're here with super CPA, just all around dope individual, Faith Patterson. We'll be right back.
Some Cortex and sweats, I make tracks like I'm homeless. Rap orgies with Orgy Invest. Capture your bounty like Elliot. Yes, bless you if you represent the fool, but I hex you with some witches fool if you voodoo. I could do what you do, easy. Believe me, frontin' niggas give me heebie-jeebies. So why you imitating Al Capone? I be needing Simone and defecating on your microphone. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
The Bro Code TV show was created to amplify the voices of others and share courageous stories of community leaders, organizations, and businesses that are doing great things. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., you can catch Bro Troy, Bro Kirk, and Bro Smith for another courageous conversation. You can find those conversations on our YouTube channel at Bro Code TV Productions, and also our audio podcast channels, which are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts at The Bro Code Show. Tap in to the Bro Code experience. We all we got.
Hey guys, this is Aru Proctor with the Bro Code and the Proctor Report. I'm here with Faith Patterson. How you doing,
Hello,
girl?
Mama. How are you?
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Yes, we are at your lovely establishment.
Thank you.
So tell everybody what you do.
I am a certified public accountant and the owner of Faith Bynum CPA PC. I have some other creative things brewing, but for the most part, that is it. The owner of Faith Bynum CPA PC.
All right, guys, y'all come follow us. We're going to look at her amazing office. So how did you come up with this space? What was this just like your creative side?
This is the creative side of me, believe it or not. So I tell people all the time, I am more of a creative.
Okay.
I love business, but I'm definitely both right and left brain.
Got it.
So my motivation with this whole office suite was that I would have a place, number one, that was an extension of me.
Got you.
Where I can think,
Right.
where I can, as well as when people come in, they will feel comfortable.
Right, definitely.
This is with what we're dealing with when it comes to money, when
Right.
it comes to, for me, I'm dealing with staff
Right.
and sometimes personnel issues and
Exactly.
the like.
Yeah.
Hard conversations goes
Exactly.
on.
When you talk about money, look, y'all know when you start talking about money.
Yeah, or anything else. I really wanted a space that spoke to people
Right.
Before I would ever open my mouth. So that was
Wow.
the creative background around how I decorated this.
You did this. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
I appreciate it.
Y'all better book an appointment. So we'll go to the other space. So when Central, we know we both Eagles.
Yes, Eagle Pride.
Yes, period. So how was the HBCU experience for you coming into this space as an entrepreneur?
It was a place where I think I learned how to network before social networking became a thing.
Exactly.
I was on NCCU's campus. I started in 1998. So for me, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, none of that was out at the time, right? And so it was important for me to network with my professors.
Right.
I was networking with people on the board of trustees.
Wow.
Like at that age, I understood that it wasn't just about the relationships that I had formed with my peers.
Right.
And so I think learning that and understanding that early helped for me to continue to build relationships the older I had gotten. And so that's what the HBCU experience did for me. And then it allowed for me to carry throughout. So when I started my career, that was HBCU love right there.
Yes.
And then so on and so forth. And then those relationships they maintained as I left my other job, and I'll get into that.
Wow.
I was laid off actually, but and then when I started here, it was just those connections that kept growing.
Wow. So you would definitely say the You would definitely say the HBCU experience kind of catapulted you into this space.
Absolutely. It's a lot of things, golden things that they teach you.
Yeah.
You know, they teach you how to, you know what, I think it's the caring.
That's true.
It's the caring. A lot of my professors, there were certain conversations that we could have.
That's true.
That, sometimes it's hard to get. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so having that caring and that love and that infrastructure, I think allowed for a certain type of confidence to at least for the confidence seeds to be planted.
Got it.
Now, over the years, they had to be watered and all of that. But, that's what HBCU experience did for me.
I love it. So you are sharing this space with your mate. How is that? How is going into business or adding space together or having space together? How is that?
For sure. So it's so funny because he was fighting tooth and nail. Husband, I'm going to talk about you. But
that's right, Jamie. We talk about you.
Husband, I'm going to talk about you. So, he had been in Durham forever.
Right.
Everyone knows Jamie Patterson is subject to change customs.
Right.
And the reality was that the trajectory of his business was naturally changing.
Right.
And so there were ideas that we had started having even while we were dating.
Wow.
And so he had moved up here. He moved up here for love from a personal perspective. But then when we had started talking about business and just the opportunities that were budding, the natural thing was to say, hey, Durham, Durham, you love Durham.
Right.
Raleigh, go ahead and get a different sense, a different appeal, and a different market that we could, actually jump into. And so he moved up here, and then the pandemic happened.
Right. Oh, wow. So y'all moved right before the pandemic.
Yes, so he actually had another office. The pandemic had started, so we were in separate locations because we just moved up here in July of last year.
Got you.
So pandemic happened, and it was like dead, and it was like, oh my gosh, did he really make the right decision?
Right.
But when eventually this space came available, and it was like, hey, it's so many offices.
Right.
Let's get them.
Exactly.
And so we did. And Jamie's on one side, I'm on the other. And actually, it's so cool because we have our staff meetings together. So we have joint staff meetings.
Good.
There's a lot of things that cross-pollinate. the businesses. So a lot of time, I mean, it's easier to do just a 2-in-1. But I mean, we're so busy some days. I mean,
You don't need to see each other.
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, he's still on the other end.
Right.
So yeah, it's cool. We respect each other's spaces.
Right.
We respect each other's
Professional
spaces.
spaces.
Absolutely.
I have meetings from this time to this time.
For sure.
You know, I'm with a client. If you need me, you know, text me, that type of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Call me up, and that's that. And so I think having seasoned businesses allows for us to stay in that headspace.
Definitely, because if y'all were fresh,
yeah.
business, it would be stressful.
It would be crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm still involved with Subject to Change. But it is just on we're going to do like our monthly meeting for the,
Right.
but no.
You wifey, so I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you know, look, wife get first dibs anyway. Y'all see she got this sweatshirt on. Y'all see she got this AKA shirt, sweatshirt, y'all. Look.
We got to do
Shout out to Alpha Chi.
Shout out to Alpha Lambda. Come on now.
Yeah, that's the NCC you love, man.
Yeah,
and that's what
love
it definitely have taught me for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't really know. I come from a small town and close to Wake Forest, so I didn't really see any of that. So coming to Central was definitely like an eye opener for me.
I know it was.
And definitely coming to Durham, it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm from Durham. So
Oh,
I
wow.
think, I'm from Durham. So, you know, I think the experience was very different because I was from the area. But I did think that I juiced as much as I could the HBCU experience, because campus is still a world within a world.
It's true. I love it. So when it comes to motherhood and wearing, you know, self-care, you know, I talk about self-care all the time. How are you taking care of Faith outside of taking care of your business, your husband, your daughter?
Yeah.
What else are you doing for yourself?
So one of the things that my friend, shout out to Sheena. Sheena Morning. So one of the things that I have made a priority is to make sure that, number one, I'm having my self-time with my nails and massages and facials and that.
For sure.
Hair.
Yes.
All of that.
Yes. Because hair stay laid, okay?
Let me tell you something. Look, I mean,
with the shortcuts, you gotta have it together.
You have to do something, right? And so for me, that, right? But then the other part of it is I really need quiet space. And so the ambiance.
Yeah, it works for sure.
It works.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit in a room quiet.
Yeah.
I can drive quiet.
Yeah.
And so those moments is when I hear God, or those moments is when I, you know, really start to think about what is it that I want.
Right.
And then get in with my friends. I get with my friends and we do what we do. Me and Sheena planning our beach trip.
Exactly.
You
Gotta have
know,
the girls' time.
Yeah, girls' time. You have to.
Yeah.
And so and we'll be getting more into travel.
Got it.
That's the thing. I've spent a lot of years doing this, but going to get more into travel and get away.
I love it. A. Ruth Proctor with the Proctor Report, and we got here with Faith Patterson.
Hello, I am Faith Bynum, principal and owner of Faith Bynum CPA PC. So you have a business, and one thing that every business owner desires is for their business to grow, particularly as it relates to people. One thing that I have learned with being in business for almost 6 years full time is that it's important to hire the position and not just the person. People, they're coming with different skills, and you want to be able to maximize and optimize those skills within your business. But as the business owner, you have to make sure that you have their day-to-day activities as well as long-term goals for their success and progress. If you need any help with this business strategy, feel free to reach out to us here at Faith Bynum CPA PC. Our contact is 919-858-6807 or info@faithbynum.com.
We're back on the Bro Code Show with Super CPA Faith Patterson. We talked about a whole lot. Faith, we want to get into one more subject matter and dig a little bit deeper. Yeah, what you got, bro?
So
Kirk?
female leadership. Currently, there's 41 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies that are women. Obviously, women of color, much less. That equates to about 8.2%, which from what we see as the Bro Code, women are they're killing it in all levels, whether it's education, whether it's entrepreneurship, but those numbers don't align. So speak to us a little bit about the challenges of being a leader, a woman in leadership, and what I guess people need to hear, because those numbers don't align up for us.
It is definitely a huge disparity, an unfortunate disparity as well. I think I'll start it off on the bright side. I do think that women have not only found their voice, but we're starting to stop asking for permission to use the voice. And I think that's important, right? Sometimes you have to cultivate your own atmosphere for the voice to be used and echoed. And so you can have that exponential impact. And so I think that even with the disparity, it's still better than 30 years ago, right? It's still better than 30 years ago. I think that there has been a gentle retraining and a retooling of the world that I think is naturally happening, right? And I think the roles and stuff like that is starting to be a little bit more open. And I think that's just that's a mentality, it's a mindset. And so the challenges that I have faced personally in leadership has just been does the information, the same exact information that I'm saying that's coming out of my voice, is it taken in the same way as a male? You know, we can be saying sometimes the same things, and I have been in some of those rooms. Now, the one thing that I will say that has been a blessing is being around my father and my brothers. I think I was taught how to use my voice in a certain way, being young, you know. And sometimes that's not the case for every female. But once I learned, and once I said, listen, you know, here are the different tools that can be used. And so that's why I've taken to social media. Everyone definitely has, right? But I have been very intentional in the messages. I've learned to it's okay to be emotional. Certain things, when it comes to business, I take the emotion out of it, and it's, you know, the 1 + 1 is 2. The facts are the facts. And I think that being able to balance has been an ability to be heard. But I do think that there is a ways to go. Yeah. There's definitely a ways to go. But I think women we are roaring. And we're, and especially minority women.
You know, and I asked that question, but I have a friend who's a VP of a healthcare company. And she asked me one day, she said, how do you feel about this? But she explained that her upbringing was, go marry a man.
Yes.
And he'll take care of you.
Yes.
It's hard to shake off something like that.
It is.
And find your voice. Now, she found it.
Yes.
But it's not always just society. It's what I was taught at home, too. So you're kind of having both views to deal with. Because
I grew up like that. I grew up, you know, my father was very dominant. You know, what he said went. And but I do think that right now what we're also doing, I think as our feminine culture, we are supporting each other in a way. And even if once you find your voice, it's your call to pull, right? You pull your sister. And the one thing that I tell my staff all the time, they're young. I'm 41, but they're in their 20s. And I said, listen, don't just be good accountants, be great thinkers, and do not be afraid to voice your thoughts. You know, learn that, and I try to create the space because, again, you know, I feel like I found somewhat of a voice, and so I want to cultivate the environment so then they can feel comfortable, and when they go out and they do their other things, then they're doing the same thing, hopefully, that I did for them. And I think that that's the way that you can break these generational
I love
challenges.
the sense of accountability, right? And I was going to ask you that, like, have you created a space where you feel comfortable now taking on that responsibility to help others find their voice? And you just answered that. I think that's rich.
Thank you.
And that's a space that, regardless of gender, regardless of background, that if we can create a space for others to feel comfortable, we've fared well. Whether that's in finances or a nonprofit or
That is
whatever
correct.
your calling or purpose is. So I love that.
Thank you.
What you got, Brooksman?
Well, I could tell you about your business. You know, just with the CPA, you know, where people matter, I think was the tagline.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm looking at your shirt, and I've seen enough tags all around here between the cups on the desk. You know, but the shirt says Bonita.
Right.
And so the whole time, well, I don't say the whole time, but I can't help but go to the Tribe Called Quest song.
Absolutely.
But I feel like it's more than just, you know, and it's pink and green for those who can't see. You know, AKA Pinky Green.
She just put
Sneak it in.
But I feel like it's more than just that tag from that song. Like, is there more to the outfit than meets the eye?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So this is, so my husband, to segue into that, he owns an apparel company and promotional products company called Subject to Change Customs, and he's been in business for 18 years. And so we wanted to do some things that were outside the traditional helm of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And so we're like, listen, let's do something that would be eye-catching, and let's do something that can also reflect, you know, some of the culture. You know, we're love the 90s, love the 80s and the 90s for sure. And so what we did, we were kind of rolling with some ideas. You know, the brainchild and genius that he is with this kind of stuff, you know, he was like, listen, let's do an AKA line. And I was like, yeah, because I really want to do some more luxury pieces and original pieces. So we put our heads together, and, you know, he definitely made a lot of things. And Bonita, we call it the Bonita collection for AKA. And so we have some pink and green, like different varieties between sweatshirt, hoodie, crew neck. And that then spawned into other things. And I said, you know, I really, with being in the professional world, I want to be able to, like, I like to come to work comfortable, right? Expressive of who I am, and still professional. And, you know, sometimes to put that together can be a little difficult, right? And so I was like, you know, it's things like this, and, you know, started showing some pieces, and we started actually we're getting that together. And so that led into our new company, Bethmont Couture, which we wanted to be not just apparel, but a lifestyle brand. It's the lifestyle that every woman deserves. And so that will not only encompass high-end apparel, and when I say high-end, not just sporty, because we're definitely going to have the cool,
culture.
stuff, for the culture. Definitely going to have some professional pieces. That's not just your traditional zip up dress, but things that are still trendy, as well as offer some design tips as well. I love to professionally design, I love decor, and I feel that decor can also be brought in professional spaces to make it your own. And so we definitely have some professional decor inspiration on there too.
Well, Kirk, you're learning Spanish, so Bonita is pretty.
Yeah.
Some pretty. AKAs and women all around are going to love that.
Absolutely.
That is up the line. Yeah. That follows that trend.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I say that my auntie, Jersey, she's AKA. So I see the spirit, all of. Yeah, absolutely. Indeed. So we look forward to what's to come with that. And definitely want to share more about that in the future.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, as we shift gears, you mentioned this earlier when talking about using your personal story to inspire others and then sharing that on social media. You shared on a post at 19 years young, you had an anxiety attack, really kind of painted that picture of how that impacted you. I'm wondering, obviously, this was years ago, and taking that experience and then now kind of paint the picture for us. What did it mean as far as it being encapsulating, right? And being in a moment where you felt that you were kind of in a soft space, almost a dark place. And
right.
How do you grow from that? And what does that look like for you now?
Yeah. So one thing that you don't realize, mental health in the Black community now is still different from where it was 30 years ago. I didn't know that anxiety was in my household the entire time.
Yeah.
My dad had anxiety. And it trickled down to we didn't do a lot as a family, didn't know my grandmother had anxiety. I remember one day we were sitting in her front room and we were, the grandkids, we closed the curtains and she said, "Open them curtains, that is affecting my anxiety," and so it's like, okay, grandma, but it was, like a little flick of it then. You don't know what it was. My dad, he had anxiety. And so at 19, I remember I was working. I was in college. At the time, had a full load. And I remember driving. I used to work at a car dealership as a receptionist at Michael Jordan Nissan in Durham. And I was driving down 15501. And it was just this overwhelming sick. I got nauseous. My heart is beating fast. And it's this overwhelming feeling of just like a stuck elevator, and I'm trying to catch my breath and I pull over. And I sat in my car, probably an hour. I didn't move. I was like, what the heck is this? Yeah. And so what happened for me is that you experience it that one time and you never want to feel it again. And so then you create anticipatory anxiety, which is, okay, I don't want that feeling to happen again. So you start thinking of things that may have triggered that. And so you avoid that in anticipation that you may have an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And so it's worlds, it's these micro worlds of things that haven't even happened, but it's exercised in your brain daily that it may happen. And so, at one time I didn't like crowds, or, I would, or or I would stand in the outskirts. Now, mind you, that's still a thing, you know. I mean, but I can handle it a lot better. You know, I wouldn't ever go in the eye of a crowd. I still like to understand where the exits are. Like, oh, okay, like, okay.
Just in case.
All right, okay, got it. All right, you know, and that's a thing. And so over the years, it has been an honest walk in identifying that thing. So it's like, oh, you know, all right, that normally gives me anxiety. Let me allow myself to look at this different. You know, so for instance, I don't love elevators, right? It's just when the door shut and you be like, I don't love them, but there was a time I would not even remotely get on them. You know? Now it's like, oh, I mean, you get on it, and when you get on, and you're glad to get off, but it's stopping the avoidance. You know.
So are you talking about spaces where I can't control?
I can't control
the crowd. I can't control what everybody else
you
does.
That is correct.
The doors. I need to know where the doors are, so
That's
I can
right.
control. And the elevator, I don't know who's running.
I don't know who's running that thing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It's that. It's trust. You know, it's trusting everything outside of yourself. But I will say that the love of my husband has been amazing, and entrepreneurship.
I want to touch on that a little bit more. We do got to pay the bills, though.
Absolutely.
So when we come back, we want to talk a little bit more about that mental wellness space, self-care space, and how you've evolved from that 19-year-old elevator experience, and now have elevated to the boss lady. Boss lady, you know. So we'll be right back with super CPA Faith Patterson on the Bro Code Show. Thank you. We're back on the Bro Code Show. Now, Faith, you know, prior to the break, we were hitting on a little bit more about those self-care needs and how you have created a space to make sure that that's important to you. So really quickly, I would love for you to share with our audience, like, what does that look like? What are some things that you use to travel in that space more intentionally?
Exercise. Not just from a getting in shape perspective, because I mean, I don't know if I'm achieving that. However, I know the release that it really does. It sets my mind. I'm a morning person, so it kind of sets me for the day. In addition to that, my homegirls, you know, I have a very small circle, but what we have decided to do is, listen, you know, let's definitely have our spa days. Let's definitely have our beach trips where we can go and we can talk about the thing. We all need, again, I think the phrase safe space continues to pop up in this conversation, but it's so true, right? And so creating that as much as possible. And definitely, you know, my husband, he makes sure that I'm getting the massages, getting my, you know, nails and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I see you got real giddy on that, right? The chin dip just a little bit, you know. They say, hey, you're right. Did y'all know that? Hey, they say all 80% of our communication is nonverbal. So
that's
listening to those or watching those verbal cues.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I can dig that. I really can dig that. And it's good to hear. With the bros, we always talk about a support system. We always talk about creating that organic space to not be judged and having that. So it's good to hear that as a boss lady, as someone that really takes business seriously, that you're making that a priority.
Yes.
And that gives us and creates us a space to not burn out, you know, to not be on fumes.
Well, I tell my staff all the time, one of the reasons why it was important for us to create a rather generous and hopefully as time continues to move on, PTO, paid time off policy is because I let them know, listen, you know, this is your profession, but you cannot come in and think that you're going to continue to operate at your optimal level without taking time. So go, bye.
Yeah.
You know, y'all got to get up out of here. I don't know where you're going to go, but you got to get up out of here. So then when you come back, you're refreshed. So I take that seriously.
It's good to hear, too, because, you know, as a culture, we'll create a mental health day.
Yeah.
In a minute.
I need to
oh yeah, exactly, right. And you know, in the space that you work in, Bro Smith, I'm sure you've gotten a plethora.
Oh yeah, that's why they changed it from sick days to paid time off.
Yeah.
So I don't even need to hear the story.
You gotta lie to me.
Yeah, the calls and the voicemails will be.
If we've done it, I know I've done it. I'll create it. I love it. It's all, we got to keep it light, man. Indeed, we always say laughter is food for the soul, you know, and we should eat more. So,
yes.
I'm curious on that note, and as we shift gears and kind of go in for a landing on this conversation, you have created a unique space where you have now arguably taken a piece of black girl magic, right? And all of your Bonita Applebomb dopeness. And then now created with a bringing sexy back space, if you may, to a career choice that, one, we talked a little bit more about being not just dominated by men, but a little dull.
Yeah, for sure.
A little boring.
Yes,
right?
Lord.
But you've made it spicy. Right? And earlier in this conversation, you've talked about now you have created a space where you can be yourself in doing that. You know, talk to us more about why that became important to you, how you walk into it so boldly, and then now how you can use it as a way to encourage others.
Authenticity is the catalyst and that fire that I refuse to negotiate on. You know, I have to not love it, but I gotta like it every day, just like any other relationship. And so if I did it the way that it was traditionally done, blue suits, wheelie bags, you know, then I would not be sitting here talking to you about the entrepreneurship endeavor. Because when you step into a place and you're showing up every day as who you are, I believe that you have the propensity to ignite change. You deliver different. You can speak with conviction. and then people believe you. And especially if you do it every day and you're consistent with it. And so I didn't necessarily know that bringing sexy back was necessarily what I was doing. However, I never wanted to be afraid to be who I was. You know, I'm a girl from Durham. Like I mean, so certain things comes out in certain conversations, right?
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear. But all in all, I felt like that was the space that really wasn't occupied to that extent. And I was willing to try. You know, I was willing to try. So then whatever that had morphed into, but it's just being who I am. That what you see is what you get, kind of, sort of. So.
I love it. You know, I love how we have traveled down a journey in this conversation where we've seen, don't forget, the Durham side has come out, right?
Yeah.
Bull City stand up, right? The Jenny from the block, right? The Bonita Applebomb, right? The HBCU, and then the boss lady, like let's not get it twisted.
Let's not get it twisted.
And I think, you know, we call it being a chameleon. We call it, really being able to bask in that fullness.
Yeah.
You know? So it's good to see, like, as servant leaders, as men that travel, as men that run businesses, it's really good to see and watch that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I do.
Really
I thank y'all for that.
Yeah, indeed. It's the bro code. We all with that. So, we did a little research, and, earlier we talked about using social media as a tool, being intentional, right? And really being able to paint a picture and use that as a storytelling piece, more so bigger than just marketing. So we did a little research.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. And in that intentionality, we saw that through what you share on social media. So we captured pictures. So they say pictures are worth 1,000 words. Now, Faith, we don't need 1,000.
You don't need 1,000. Okay.
But what we would love is the pictures that we're going to share with you. Tell us who's in it, a little bit more about the story.
Okay.
In that picture, and why you shared it with the world. So we're going to start with this one here.
That one, that was my staff. It was during the pandemic, was it? Yeah, that's I think one of the pandemic pictures. And so you had, at the time, I had an all-female staff. Yeah. And it was amazing. And so that captured, I think, the power of women, that women can come together and we can make a difference, and we can still be here even through a pandemic. And we showed up every day. Yeah. We showed up every day. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, in that moment, and we talk about women leadership, we've hit it on a little bit more, and at that moment, now that has evolved, you've added a little testosterone.
Yes,
to the floor, yes. And the fellas are coming through, making some impact, and that's good, right?
It is. It's amazing.
But what were... I can only imagine during that time you come into the office and you guys are opening up and you do an impact session or you do some type of powwow or a morning meeting. What were some of the words that were resonating in those times?
Resilience. This is who we are. We are powerful. We are trustworthy, and we're showstoppers. Like I believed in that at that time. I still do, but in a way that was I think they also felt it too. Special. We have something special. I would say that a lot, y'all. We have something special, and although I wasn't intentional necessarily about having an all-female staff, but that was the reality at that time, and knowing as time would move on, I didn't realize how powerful that picture, because on LinkedIn, it had gotten like 100,000 views. It was crazy. It was crazy, and people were reaching out. So yeah, those are some of the words. Definitely resilient. I use that a lot, and it was during a pandemic as well. So it was even more of a reason why now let's claw our way through this.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Tell us about this one here. We talk about marriage, but I thought this is pretty interesting. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That is my hubby, Jamie. So for his birthday last year, I wanted to do a photo show. It's your birthday. Let's dress up. So we love hip hop, and I love 80s and 90s. I love the style of that. You know, I love bucket hats. I love gazelles, all of that. And so I was like, yeah, let's do something that's kind of like late 80s, early 90s inspired. And that was for his birthday. My homegirl, Eunice, she got together. And we went downtown and did our thing. And we enjoyed it.
Yeah. Still has the pink and green on, too.
Yeah. You see that, right? Intentional about it, right? That's why it's clothing line.
You slide it in there, right?
Oh, she's intentional about it.
You slide it in there.
I gotta ask though, is there a favorite group from that era?
Oh, that is good. So let's see. I was a huge. I love Janet Jackson. I love TLC. I loved Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. I love Tribe Called Quest. Yeah. So those are kind of like my people.
Janet Jackson.
Yeah. I wanted to be her backup dancer. I wanted to be one of her backup dancers.
Black Guess jeans.
Yes, love will never do without you.
Is that the chair moment too?
Yeah.
Oh,
with the red.
Pleasure Principle.
That was the velvet rope.
Yeah. I was about to say.
That's
she had. Yeah.
That's Rhythm Nation.
Rhythm Nation.
At least 1,000 times. At least 1,000 times. Anyway.
We got one more. Tell us a little bit more about this picture.
Oh, wow. So that is my present staff pictured. That was at NCCU's 40 Under 40 Awards. That was the gala. It was supposed to have been last year, but of course, the pandemic. So it was this year. And it was beautiful. We had 3 tables of just support. And afterwards, we lined the staff up and I said, this isn't just about me, this is ours. And because without them, I cannot lead. And so, that was that was very special for me. Very special to be able to share that with them.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Together, each achieves more. Right?
Absolutely.
Indeed. Well, we have asked you a whole lot of questions. We have. We've enjoyed the night. We have definitely taken that journey. But we have another segment called Flip the Script.
Yes.
Right? And in this segment right here, you get a chance to ask us questions.
Yeah.
Right? You become the host just for a moment. So either collectively or individually.
Okay.
Like it's yours.
Well, I have one question that I would like the 3 of you all to answer. So back in the day, New Edition had a song called Boys to Men. These are the things that change boys to men. So I would like to know what changes a boy to a man.
Ooh.
We always thought
That's a good one.
kind of work our way back.
Yeah, we got to go right over there.
Oh, you started with me.
Yeah, it's just you. That's what we do.
Spot this one, you can just start it off. That's a good question.
I would say I would say there are 2 things. There's the PG and there's the on the PG end, it's when that boy is when you've gotten your first check. You're not quite a man yet, but you're living up to adult responsibilities. When you can go out and treat your mother or treat your father to dinner. When you could pay your own cell phone bill, things of that nature, and you start walking into that responsibility, and feeling accountable for your actions more so than depending on your parents or siblings or whomever for your livelihood. That's one. And the second one would have been, when you've got your first taste. You may not be a man yet. You're definitely feeling mannish at that moment.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. When you know yourself, like when you really know yourself, aside from everything else that we've been taught, and it's some people are 35. There's no age to it.
Yeah.
I know. I got some homeboys. I'm sure y'all do.
Yeah.
There's no age to it. So that's a great question,
Well,
especially for the work that we do.
For sure.
Because that's where it centers. Like trying to accelerate that so these young men really know who they are at a young age, inside first, and so. But the peace part, I like that too, though. Yeah. I go with that for. I put that in there.
Thank you.
I agree with both of you guys. They oftentimes say that age doesn't breed maturity, lived experience does. Right? And we said it earlier. We said, when Grandma said, "Baby, just keep on living."
Keep on living.
Right, and life will eventually humble you down. Shameless plug to Anthony Hamilton, right? So, I don't know, man. I totally agree with. I would like to assume that I felt that I was a man when I got my own bread, right? I got my own little piece of job. I got that first check, and half of it was taken because I was filing one or zero. Who the heck is fighting this? I don't like them. I don't like FICO. I don't like these folks. Man, I don't need to pay nobody else. Who was I saying, man? All these extra money. So yeah, I would like to believe as from a personal perspective, when I first started taking on responsibilities of my own, I really started to understand the dynamics of money and started to understanding how it can be used as a tool. I had those experiences. I'll speak from my lived experience at a young age. My grandfather lived to be 101. He was. I watched him go to work in a suit and tie every day. Those were my early on experiences. So I think I had the dynamics and the tools at a young age. I just didn't take heed to them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I
get it.
I was and still somewhat am the learn the hard way kid. So, mine is the lived experience. You know, I don't think there is a set age of becoming. You know, like I'm still becoming. I'm still learning. I'm still evolving and learning, and really kind of rewriting. All of the stupid, man. Like I Grace played a huge role in my life, man.
Yes.
And I'm really starting to understand that now more every day, you know.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I don't think there's a timeline for that. I think that's a tough one. Good question, but I think from my lived experience, it's really tough to put a date or a time on that. That comes through grace.
I want to add controlling your emotions. I'm sorry, managing your emotions.
Still working.
That's not
Managing your emotions. That's why I said it. Wait a minute, don't put it in there.
It's a man thing.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, that's a people thing more so than anything. But in terms of feeling like I was a man, you know, I agree with you.
I feel
you. But you know that encompasses a little bit more.
So women and men. Emotions.
Yeah.
So if I had to put a timeline, I would definitely agree with, for me, the paycheck part. Like I felt like a man at that moment. Now I wasn't.
It was only about $49.
Yeah.
If that.
Right.
I was in high school. I could only work a certain kind of number of hours.
Right.
Yeah. But I love that. So I don't know if we really answered the question.
Yeah, no.
I guess from our perspective,
absolutely,
right?
And your experience. Yeah, that's thank you.
Do you have any others? Or
No, that was it? Yeah.
That was a good one. I mean, we've been asked many of questions, never to that perspective. I think the other one was probably Johnny's question when it came to education versus home life. Yeah, that was pretty good too. Like what held more weight. as far as accountability. Yeah. Well, you used this word a few times in this conversation, the word special. And we want to do something special for you. So earlier in this conversation, we laughed about this, but earlier before this conversation, we asked you, what's a word that you would use to either describe yourself or that you would use to motivate yourself? And you said faithful.
Which makes sense.
Right? Which makes sense, right? So we want to do something special for you.
So a couple of things. The reason why we are here was really to celebrate you. It's been 84 months, 7 years for people, right? It's been 7 years. Yeah. So we want to celebrate and like the term boss on the streets. They say the term boss on the streets, but you have to have employees to be a boss. So you qualify. So we want to, celebrate you and all the work you're doing. Really, we use a segment called You Matter. We always have a $2 bill that we sign for you, but we put your name, Faith, on the front. We put Faithful on the front. And you do matter because really, I think one thing that you said, being authentic and having non-negotiables, and it's not just about you and Jamie. You have a staff that affects every day. That's a big, we talk about burdens all the time. Your decisions affect the lives of all their people, but their people too. So we appreciate you and just thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. This is beautiful. Don't you? Listen, thank you. I appreciate this greatly. I was not expecting this. And I'm going to frame it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you got a dope office space. If it happens to make it in that office space, I really feel special there, right? But,
absolutely.
But like the $2 bill, you're unique, you're rare, and small token. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel it. I feel it from you all, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, indeed. So now we have an ask, right? So now we go into this next segment called Calling Them Out. And in this segment, can we honestly say that you had a great time on the Bro Coach Show?
Listen, let me tell you something. Absolutely, absolutely. You all know y'all set the tone.
That's it.
Y'all set the tone, and we're here.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You just got to show up. I love it. So with that being said, I believe your camera's right here. In this segment, this Calling Them Out segment, we need you to look into that camera and call out individuals that have a great story, have influence, and deserve an opportunity here to be on the Bro Coach Show.
I am calling out, of course, Jamie Lamont Patterson. My husband, he has an amazing story. My homegirl, Sheena Morning, she is a phenomenal woman, and she runs the Sabella Beauty Academy in Goldsboro. And I am I'm going to get in so much trouble, but it is what it is. My hairstylist, Dominique Gonzalez, owner of Creative Hair Salon, her story is amazing, and I've been yelling at her for many years that she has to tell it. So I hope that they can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Right here.
We could do that Drake Champ style.
I love it. Oh yeah, I know you were thinking about that, right? Yeah.
Let me tell you.
We get to do that. I knew I was waiting on somebody. I was like,
Jamie's.
Yeah, absolutely.
You already set the tone.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, everyone loves him.
Yeah.
In that office.
So obviously, hubby, Jamie. Who else we got?
Sheena Morning. And Dominique Gonzalez.
We need you right here on the Bro Coach Show. Indeed. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Goldsboro. Yeah, that ain't far. Yeah, that's not far at all. That's up the block. Well, we always end the show the same way. No different. A little bit of positive. Tonight is no different. So tonight's quote says, if you want to feel rich, just count the things you have that money can't buy. It's your boy, Bro Troy. Kirk Smith. And we are Bro Coach. We all we got. Awesome. Another one. That was good too. That was a real easy flowing conversation.
I be spreading the message on the corner where the thugs be. And Rock said, be careful when the world start to love me. I've been getting recognition. A lot I'm starting to work.
For tomorrow, you ain't promised today. Or could you walk on water if you don't stand on faith? It's like I'm going through circles. I'm in that same old place. I see you closing the curtains, but I got something to say. I mean, I just don't get it, as if they can't see you making the way. City lights, what up? He's preparing the way. City lights, what up? How could you live for tomorrow if you ain't promised today?
The Bro Code TV show was created to amplify the voices of others and share courageous stories of community leaders, organizations, and businesses that are doing great things. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., you can catch Bro Troy, Bro Kirk, and Bro Smith for another courageous conversation. You can find those conversations on our YouTube channel at Bro Code TV Productions, and also our audio podcast channels, which are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts at The Bro Code Show. Tap in to the Bro Code experience. We all we got. We always say that hope plus options equals success. When there's a lack of hope, oftentimes gravitate towards unfavorable decisions. When we can provide hope plus options, our children will ultimately be better. Through love, consistency, opportunity, and exposure, that's how we really touch these kids. That's how we empower them. That's how we inspire them. And that's how we encourage them. And that's what we do well here at Y4C.